Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Good to see you. As you can tell, we have a musical guest today who is amazing. I'm always so happy to introduce Stuart Elster on piano. everyone, please welcome to the Beamer, Reverend Dr. Keith Cox.
Good morning, CSLLA. How is everyone? Good. And the spirits in the room? Fantastic. Happy Sunday morning, everyone. Happy to have you here while we get settled in. So we have, and for music today, the one and only Stuart Elster on piano. Le professional, Stuart Elster. Happy to have back with us on percussion, Guy Azule. And the incomparable co-music director, Andy Belling, on keyboards and arrangements. So happy spring. It feels like spring today, right? Yeah, that's right. Let your blooms pop up out of the ground and set yourself free. So we are the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and we come together every Sunday morning here in our sacred home at 1200 North La Brea Avenue in West Hollywood, California. And we come together as a community to connect with each other both on the physical plane of action, but also in that place that is transcendent of the physical plane, that place where we are all deeply interconnected, where we share the one power of life, the one source of life. It's here that we come together, whether we are here live in the room or if they're watching on Facebook Live. Hello, Facebook Livers. Last week we had 150-something people watching us on Facebook Live. Fantastic. And then on our live stream, hello to those. I give the Queen's wave to those on live stream. We're trending somewhere between 40 and 50 on that. So we've got oftentimes more people watching us through technology than we have in the room. But we all come together during this time to settle in and anchor ourselves into the receptivity of the acknowledgement of the divine itself. In our philosophy and our teaching, which is known as the science of mind, which Dr. Ernest Holmes addresses it as a synthesis of the laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and the aspirations of humankind, we use this philosophy, this faith of way and a way of life, as a tool to remind us who we are as divine beings, navigating life as human beings. It all comes down to us opening our mind to know who we are as a divine being, and then using our mind to reflect the qualities of that power that exists equally among each and every one of us, and in fact, all sentient beings. The powers or the qualities of the divine that we celebrate here in this philosophy and this teaching and this way of life that we believe are inherent within each and every one of us are peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom. And so what I know for all of us today, that those qualities are awakened within you, and that you feel that power and that presence as they're awakened within you, and you choose to use them in a way that magnifies the very good that exists within you forward by your thought and your beliefs and your actions and your reactions in life. And so if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Our beloved teacher, Dr. David Walker, used to say every Sunday morning, we welcome one and we welcome all. And so we open our service every Sunday morning with a ritual. It's pretty much the same thing, hence the term ritual. And so it's called Calling in the Light, and we vary the aspects of that ritual, but we use it so that we can anchor ourselves into this energy that's the one energy of the divine. Our practitioner of the day takes us through that. Our practitioner today is Reverend Lenore Edney. I'd like to invite her up to the bema. And our illuminator is Dennis Goodine. I'd like to welcome Dennis up here as well. And Reverend Lenore and Andy and the guys will guide you through.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love, calling in the light, calling in the light, calling
Good morning, good morning. The ritual we perform this morning is called Calling in the Light. Today we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. And the purpose of this ritual is to draw into our gathering this morning a conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities we possess as complete expressions of the divine. As we feel the vibrations shifting during this experience, may we become ever more aware of the light of life that exist in and as all expressions of life, which includes you and me. So the quality that we're going to be using today is power. Let's use the acronym of the word power during this ritual to create an opportunity for each of us to embrace our light in a more expansive way. So the P is for presenting. The O is for hour. W is for wholeness. E is for enhances. R is for reality. So as Dennis lights the first candle, the P candle, it stands for presenting. And in this context, presenting is the action of consciously sharing the presence. In the book, The Science of Mind, this is defined as following: to meditate upon the presence of God is to draw in the universe into one's own soul. Let's do the next candle. It's for hour. Being one with all life, Dr. Holmes addresses this in this quote: "The one spirit has placed the stamp of individuality upon itself and called it you." And as Dennis lights the next candle, it is for the word wholeness, W. In spiritual terms, when we are speaking of the whole, we are speaking of the divine, which is also known as Source, God, the thing itself. E is the next letter, and it is for the word enhances. And synonyms for this word are intensify, increase, improves the quality of. Let's note together the conscious engagement of our thought regarding our wholeness. And it is intensified and increased, and we all benefit from its action. R stands for reality. In spiritual terms, reality means that which is indestructible, incapable of decay, and it's unchanging and everlasting. This morning, let's all know together, as this ritual is a reminder that we are the individualizations of this reality, let's use it wisely, with compassion and with ease. So P is for presenting, O is for hour, W is for wholeness, E is for enhancing, R is reality. Now moving to the sixth candle. As Dennis lights this candle, the final candle, that we each know it's the healing candle, we ask you to take a moment and think of anyone you would like silently put into the light of the healing flame to experience the external and everlasting and eternal and internal love of the divine.
I am love. I am love. I am peace. I am peace in my heart. In my heart. I am free. I am free. I am spirit. I am soul. All together. All together. We are calling in the light. Calling in the light. Calling in the light of love. Calling in the light. Calling in the light. Calling in the light of love. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is.
And as we gather this morning, we begin with a spiritual mind treatment and affirmative prayer. So we are seated here in this room, in this sanctuary, knowing that as we are gathered, we are at that place that is the divine being revealed. It is this allness, this oneness, and yes, this wholeness that we each are called to be as. So this very morning, all of us here and all of us out there, we know that as we speak this day, as we greet this day, we know that as we are in the encounter of this day, we come from that place which is love and light. We come from that place which is power, and within that power, we are aware of our own power to show up as that which is kindness, that which is gratitude, that which is abundance, that which is humor, laughing at ourselves in grace as we express life only the way that we each individually can do. It is by means of us, because simply we are the conduits of spirit. It is by means of us that we are the expression of the divine itself, unfolding gracefully and experiencing our good and even more of our greater good. So in the celebration that life is, we say, yes, let's get on with this day. Let's experience, open our ears, open our hearts to the revelation that Dr. Keith wants to express and share with us. He is the presentation of the divine, and spirits showing up as him. So we bless this congregation, we bless the musicians, we bless each and every person involved with this great opportunity of gathering, and we say, let's get on with it. The law knows what the law will do, and that's how it works. We know it's true. It's our own trueness. Right here and right now, let's lift these words, let them go into the activity that is the law, and together we just say, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Lenore and Dennis and the band. Thank you. I'm here to present my divinity. It's feeling a little lavender today, my divinity. So we're so blessed to have this trio with us again today, with Stuart Elster at the helm here and Andy at the other helm. And so we've got Guy in the middle giving us a little percussion. So Stuart, is there anything you would like to say about this first song? A little quick snippet?
A quick snippet, yes. Of course, I didn't plan to, but somehow it always just. But today, the theme today is kindness, I believe, and I just want to just say, every once in a generation, or maybe not that often, somebody that's an inspirational person just comes to see, say, where do they come from? Where does it from nowhere? It's like a miracle. Such a person came out of Brazil. His name was Antonio Carlos Jobim in the 1960s. There was a movement of music out of Brazil. It became known as bossa nova, which means a new beat. But it had such a profound influence on jazz musicians in America and throughout the world. The harmonic and melodic context of this it was completely out of the tradition of the American swing that had come up, and it changed the world. So with a spirit of kindness, I'm going to do one of the songs from Antonio Carlos Jobim. It's called Chega de Saudade, which means no more blues. So I want to say kindness. Let's start and be kind to ourselves. That's where we start.
Fantastic. Thank you. Stuart Elster, ladies and gentlemen. Stuart Elster, Guy Azule, and Andy Belling. I don't know about you, but I wanted to get up and dance. Shake my groove thing. I was doing it in the seat, so quite wonderful. So for those of you that were here last week, I want to say thank you for your love and for your kindness and for your willingness to ride the ride of spontaneity. I thought it turned out to be a really fun Sunday. Do you guys agree with that we're here? So there's been, for those that were not here, we did something that was new where I handed out to everybody a piece of paper that said, today is the day and the only day that you get to ask Reverend Keith about his spiritual journey, about life, fill in the blanks, but no personal questions. And I thought that they would put about 4 pieces of paper in the bowl, and we had, I don't know, somewhere close to 30. So I answered a lot of stuff that clearly you guys were yearning to know. And so I'm so happy to have done that, and I'm also very glad that we had it documented. And so there will be more Sundays of those. Today will not be one of them, but there will be more Sundays where we'll dive into spontaneity like that. And we might even do a couple of Sundays. I've realized the importance of engaging you all in that is where we're going to do some dialogue stuff as well, because I think that that's important. But today, we're going to wrap up the season for nonviolence, and we're going to do it through the theme, today's theme of kindness. And so there will be some reading, and I'm going to take us on a journey using many different quotes. And I'm going to begin with the one that I think is so dear to me. It's definitely dear to me, and I'm assuming that it is for you as well, and it's this. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. Hear that anew. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. Nelson Mandela addresses this a little bit different when he says, love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Love. Now he's speaking of love as a human experience, which is defined as an intense feeling of deep affection. I'd like for us to incorporate with that the definition of divine or sacred love, which is the self-givingness of spirit whose desire to create more out of itself is to do that, and the only way that it can do that is through you and through me. So let's look at this quote from Nelson Mandela from that perspective of the divine's desire to express more of itself, whose qualities I addressed earlier this morning are peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom. Its desire to magnify itself, and the only way it can do that is through us. Nelson tells us then that power comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. In other words, it's innate and natural for us to reveal not only just our kindness, but our love, our self-givingness of spirit, that power that exists within us, whose qualities are peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom, meaning then that those are your and my qualities. And so when we magnify those by expressing that, by allowing the divinity that's within us to fulfill its desire, if you will, then what is being magnified and expressed is that which is natural of its rhythm. And what is natural of its rhythm is to express more of that which it is. Zig Ziglar tells us then the way to do that is to understand that life is an echo. What you send out comes back. What you sow, you reap. What you give, you get. What you see in others exists in you. And remember, he writes, life is an echo, 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 echo. I did that part. He goes, it always gets back to you. So give kindness. So give kindness. So think of life not just as an echo, but as you walk through life, knowing that deep within you is peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, and love. And that very love itself is this power, and its desire is to magnify more of itself out of itself. The only way it can do that is through you and through me. Then as we're walking life itself, we are indeed a magnet where we are repelling anything that's unlike what we're projecting, and what we're projecting we're attracting back to us. And so let's commit today that as we engage in wrapping up this season of nonviolence, not by doing it and putting a check mark that now we understand living from a nonviolent way, but letting it now be the foundation from how we choose to engage in all of life itself in a nonviolent manner, that the first thing that we choose to express and to do as we navigate and maneuver this life itself is to do it from a place of kindness. The definition for kindness as a noun is the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. Synonyms for kindness are kind-heartedness, warm-heartedness, tender-heartedness, goodwill, affectionateness, affection, warmth, gentleness, tenderness, concern, and care. That's it as a noun. But I would like for us to look at kindness not just as a noun, not just as an experience of these qualities, these synonyms of the quality of being friendly, but let's engage in kindness as a verb. That living these components of it as a spiritual practice, of consciously living from a place of being affectionate, of being warm, of being gentle, of being caring, of being concerning. Other synonyms for kindness is a good deed, an act of kindness, a good turn, favor, act of assistance, service, help. And the antonyms for that are being a disservice. And so as we move through life honoring our divinity by expressing it through our humanity, we are at choice in how we show up. The antonym for, and so if we are choosing then to let our divinity out through our humanity, then it's important to not live the opposite of kindness, which is disservice. By not allowing our divinity to be rising up from within us and consciously being expressed through us, fulfilling its own innate desire, we are then doing a disservice to the very power that exists within us already. Now, kindness is something that I'm sure in this philosophy, this faith, this way of life, is something that we're all akin to both expressing and experiencing. But we also all may be very conscious and conscientious to know that that may not be the norm, certainly in the world that we live in. In looking up this word and researching it, it looks as if the word kindness reached its peak of being used in the world somewhere between 1800 and 1850. I think it's time to bring it back. How about you all? Let's let today be the day that we bring it back and choose to not only know that kindness exists in the world, but once again to engage it as a verb, for it to be an act for us. And not an act as you're pretending to be kind, but an act that you're engaged in it being kind. So, Amelia Earhart wrote, "A single act of kindness throws out roots in all directions, and the roots spring up and make new trees." What she's telling us is when we are consciously engaged in expressing our divinity through kindness, we're throwing out roots in all directions, and that those roots spring up and make new trees. Use your power of imagination for a moment. I invite you to do that, to think about as you walk through your daily activities, consciously being that magnet of both projecting and attracting kindness, being in service, being kind-hearted, being attentive to others, being consciously aware of your divinity, that not only is that happening on the plane that you are walking, the surface that we're navigating called Mother Earth, whether it's covered in linoleum or cork, or whether it's covered in tar, or whether it's simply the earth itself. But what is transpiring is that you're leaving behind you, every time you pick up your foot and placing it down again, a vibrational frequency that is that kindness, that is leaving roots, that is moving down as deep into Mother Earth as it can be, and that a tree pops up on the other side of the world that is a reflection of the kindness that you've exhibited and expressed, and it's now that fruit of what you've given and planted taking place. Now, the reality is that we can imagine that happening, right? We can imagine that happening in physical form. Say yes. Yes, because it's the spiritual truth is that indeed is happening. It may not emerge through the soil as a tree, but we certainly know that since we are all energy, that every single thing that we let out has a ripple effect out into the world itself. And since the world that we live in is not governed by physical law, it is also being absorbed into the earth itself because it's all one activity. That's one of the very basic foundations of this teaching. Mark Twain tells us, the great writer Mark Twain, that kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. That deserves a right? Now let's go beyond the and really take that in, which that exemplifies exactly what I was just saying. That the act of kindness, engaging in being kind, is not bound by those that we think can communicate only in the manner in which we communicate. That the exhibition, the expression of the power of kindness that we have the capacity and the ability to release out into the world is transcendent of audible language. And I think we all know that we feel the energy field, the resonance field of when kindness is when it's transpiring, right? We know when we're giving it. We know when we're receiving it. This morning, someone gave me a really beautiful personal gift. And she was really verklempt around the words. But prior to even the words being attempted to be expressed from her, kindness was radiating from her being and her body. And it was a very personal gift that touches my soul at a level that words are difficult for me to convey. And yet, what I know is that it's not only just the gift that was given to me to acknowledge and honor my dearly four-legged spiritual offspring that has transpired, but the manner in which this beloved individual took the time to express her divinity by painting this painting. Every single stroke of that was an act of kindness. And so that is leaving a ripple effect that is not only touching us in this very moment, simply by knowing that it transpired without you ever even seeing the painting, right? But since, as I talked about last week, since we're all divinity radiating at whatever frequency that we all can comprehend, that's also touching the life of the dear Sadie who's gone on to the next dimension, wherever she may be, because why? It isn't bound. We're not bound by the physical capacity that we think that we are. Hence the reason to really get clear that as we move into life beyond the closing of this season of nonviolence, to not let it just simply be a block of time that we learned something. To let it be a block of time between January and April that we've made a covenant and a commitment to ourselves to live anew. To engage in the acts of nonviolence, to carry the vision, which is what was the theme for this particular season, to carry the theme of Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, which is nonviolence is the personal practice of being harmless to the self and others under every condition. It's not saying conditions that just feel good or when you're feeling guilty. It's saying to do it under every condition. It comes from the belief that hurting people, animals, or the environment is unnecessary to achieve an outcome and refers to a general philosophy of abstention from violence. This may be based on moral, religious, or spiritual principles, or it may be for purely strategic or pragmatic reasons. And I've said this over the previous 8 Sundays, that the reasons that we do it here is for these spiritual reasons. It's by understanding and becoming more aware, acutely aware than ever before, as I've spoken earlier today, about the oneness of life that exists. It's about raising our awareness to a place that is reflecting our divinity, to know where we know that we know that we know that we know that we are interconnected with all of life itself. It's to then raise our awareness and conscious use of what exists for us as life, as beings that operate in this physical universe that is governed by spiritual law, to use those spiritual laws from not only a place of kindness, but with purpose and with intention and with an understanding that they're working whether we're consciously using them or not. However, because we have the ability to be conscious of being conscious, to then use them consciously. In other words, that which we put out into the universe returns to us multiplied abundantly. It's just the way it works. You can argue it, you cannot believe it, you can discount it, none of that matters. It still works that way. And the last piece of it is that as we become more and more conscious of our connection to all of humanity, we are indeed then shifting the vibrational frequency of our own consciousness. And in so doing, as long as our acts line up with the way that we're thinking and believing and acting and reacting and interacting with life itself, then we begin to spiral upward into a higher vibrational frequency of our own consciousness, lining up with the highest consciousness that has walked the planet of Mother Earth. And in so doing, that spiritual law of life then brings back to us experiences in life that are reflective of our consciously engaging our divinity, and our human experiences seem less sucky. Vodka, no. What that means then is, just as I spoke of a bit last week, is that it's important for us, as we're finding our personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, the vision statement for this teaching, is to get really clear on why we are here as spiritual beings, what we're here to be as spiritual beings. And can we begin by being kind to ourselves on our own journey? Can we be peaceful with ourselves? Remember, the acronym for peace is Purposeful Energy Activates Conscious Evolution. But so often we get caught up in wondering if we're doing it right and if others are doing it better and what if, all that right. You know, we get caught up in all that. And I love this quote because it addresses this, and it says it's important to remember it's a journey. It's a journey that we're on. No one is ahead of you or behind you. You're not more advanced or less enlightened. You're exactly where you need to be right now. Life is not a contest. We're all teachers and we're all students. So remember, as you stay engaged on this journey of finding your personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening and choosing and making a covenant to be kind and to be peaceful, that it's not a contest. You're not here to compete with your brothers and your sisters. And as I said last week, let's remember, as the Dalai Lama says, we are not our brothers and sisters' keepers. We are our brothers and our sisters. And so it's not about trying to accomplish something someone else accomplished or feeling less than because of something that transpired in someone else's life. It's to know with every fiber of your being that the totality and the completeness and the wholeness and the oneness of the power of God that exists by means of me and by means of you is complete, period, in and as itself within all of us. We are not judged. We will never be judged unless we place that upon ourselves. There isn't some destination beyond this life that we're seeking to move to where some angels are going to sing hallelujah and open the gates and potentially be judged. It doesn't work that way. Certainly from our philosophy and faith, it doesn't work that way. It's about understanding that you're on a continuum, a continuity of an awakening consciousness, and that consciousness has an imprint on the spiritual laws of life, and what brings forth for you through those spiritual laws of life is an experience. And you get to look at that experience and see to what degree you are awakened to knowing that you're a divine being and how you're using that law. End of story. But we get tools along the way. And the tools that we've learned on this journey through the season of nonviolence, the first was to step into self-forgiveness. To stop and go, all right, Jesus Christ. All right, I've beat myself up enough, right? I mean, look at where it ended up for him, right? So personally, no nails, no cross, no bleeding. That's where I'm going to go for me, right? So I'm going to forgive myself for all actions that I've done that has caused me any pain or suffering or anyone else. That's step one. Step two is to have the courage to live that practice. Courage, remembering, is its origin, its Latin origin, means to live from the heart. So courage in this context means to live from that place within of the divine whose desire is to create more of itself out of itself. And the only way that it can do that is through us. And the only way it can do that through us that is acknowledgeable is when we go through self-forgiveness and then covenant to choose to live with and as kindness as a practice. Moving to the next week, which is reverence, it was then to allow and consciously commit that this journey of finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening is one that is sacred. That it's sacred. Sacred meaning that you don't have to stand on the mountaintops and tell the world. You can, it's okay, but you also don't have to. That it's your own personal journey. It's your own personal awakening. It's whatever you need to do or desire to do to find peace in your soul as you become awakened. And as time progresses, if we let time be the measurement for which you look at the evolutionary process of your life, that what's unfolding on that journey is an outpicturing of your awakening. But don't get caught up whether that's happening in 3 months or 6 months or a Thursday or a Wednesday. Just ride the rhythm of life, remembering that what's showing up for you is just the rhythm of life. Remember, humanity created Mondays through Sundays and 12:01 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. That didn't come from the divine, and it knows not from that. So be reverent on this journey that you're on, which leads us to the next week, which is to then lean into a state of gratitude. Gratitude, choosing to let that be a quality of the divine, knowing that engaging in gratitude is one of the most transformational qualities and experiences that we can have relative to wanting a shift in life. It just, stepping into gratitude shifts the energy, and the law of life must bring forth to us an experience that is reflective of that. Which moves us to the next week that we were in, which was to listen. And I've said this before, and I hope it doesn't offend anyone when I say it again, and I'm guilty of this as well, sometimes we just need to frickin' shut up. You know, just shut up. And then listen. And then listen. And then listen. And find a practice to do that. And our meditation on the week of listening, I sang to our people on the call that beautiful song, listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will never betray you. I will never forget you. I will never betray you. I will never forget you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart. Just listen. Which moves us to the next week, which is of forgiveness. And so whatever may rise up during that place of silence, and that's the point of going into the silence and listening, so that whatever's rubbing you internally rises up and you can look at it. You can go, yeah, that was pretty crappy what I did. That was pretty crappy how I felt. That was pretty crappy what went down. So today I forgive it. I forgive all involved, including myself, and I just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And then I open myself up for what is to come. But so often in our teaching, we open ourselves up and we're like, all right, now I'm ready, show up. Without understanding it's the rhythm of creation, which took us to the next week, which is then have patience. Just have patience in how good is being made manifest into your world. And trust the process. Remember, it's not about you. Very contrary to what we're taught in the Western world, and also very contrary to what we're taught, certainly in the 20th century in this teaching, when they tell you, where we're taught it's all about you. Now, it is all about you in the context of you get to tend your own mind. You get to decide how willing you are to release your divinity out. You are at choice, but you are not the greatness of the divine that created the universe. You're one with it and as it, but it is greater than you. Which moves us then to last week, which then living in peace. Not peace just solely as crossing your legs and putting your arms up and going, Om. In addition to that, using the acronym of Purposeful Energy Activates Conscious Evolution, meaning step into an evolving consciousness purposefully. How do we do that? We do that by choosing to be kind. We choose that by choosing to be love. We choose that by knowing without a shadow of a doubt that we are all one. One activity, one life, one power. The great teacher Thich Nhat Hanh addresses this in this way. He says, nothing exists by itself alone. Nothing exists by itself alone. We all belong to each other. We cannot cut this reality into pieces. My happiness is your happiness. My suffering is your suffering. We heal and transform together. We heal and transform together. And so today I encourage you, as you step into your healing, to make a commitment to not only be kind to yourself, but step into engaging in random acts of kindness with others. Random acts of kindness have potent power because they lift both the one that gives and the one that receives. As the giver, you bring light to the receiver, and by doing so, take your focus away from what you lack to what you have. When you help others, you're showing the universe that you have more than enough. The vibration of abundance and appreciation will raise your vibration in an instant. As a receiver, you take on the energy of love and compassion, which is healing and therapeutic, besides the actual assistance that you receive. Scientifically speaking, when we help others, the mesolimbic system in our brain is activated. This part pertains to the reward reinforcement system and gives rise to the feeling of joy and satisfaction when we receive rewards such as food, money, and sex. That is to say, when we lend a hand to others, it's as if we were receiving financial gains and sexual pleasure. Now, I'm not telling you that when you walk out of here today and you choose to hold the door for someone else, or you offer to bring food or medication to a friend who's sick, or you say thank you to the person that you smile at and they smile back, or you write a gratitude letter to someone who's been supportive of you, or you buy an inspirational book for a friend, or you donate blood or money to charities, or you give a huge tip to someone just because they are your server, no matter what type of service they've given you. Don't do that because you want to get from the energy of the sexual pleasure that's equal to that. You little freak. No. What I want you to look at is that scientifically speaking, we're being told here that our brain responds to those acts, that dopamine is released. It's the same thing that charges you if you're a social media addict and you want to see how many people have liked your post. It's the same thing, it's dopamine. But as humans, we respond to that much like caffeine. And I believe it's been proven recently that the three greatest things that the human is addicted to is caffeine, sugar, and dopamine. So take a look at that. So if we're going to be addicted to dopamine, why not use it in a way that works for us, which is by being kind to others, by just simply being kind, and choose to find in your own manner how you can be randomly kind to others. And don't take anything for granted. Like in reading this list, there was 36, and I don't want to read all of them to you. You guys can figure out what works for you, but one of them was to donate blood. And what came up for me is for many years, I always wanted to donate blood, and as a gay man, they wouldn't let you. And so don't take for granted that everybody can do things such as that. So know that your role in life as an awakened being on your journey of finding your personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening and making a covenant to live from a place of kindness and letting that dopamine zhoosh you as you're giving, don't take any of it for granted. Just really ask yourself time and time and time and time and time and time again, how can I expand my giving quotient? without expecting anybody to necessarily respond to you. The great teacher, Dr. David Hawkins, who many of you know I love and study wonderfully, was this magnificent man who created the scale of consciousness so that we can look at that from a vibrational frequency to see where we're at on our own evolutionary process of life. Says, love is a way of being in the world. It's being considerate of others, that's all. Just considerate, patient, and kind. The other quote that he has that I think is important for us to look at as we choose to raise our vibration as we walk this planet is, simple kindness to oneself and all that lives is the most powerful, transformational force of all. So I know for you, as I know for me, that we know what kindness is. We know when we give it, and we know when we receive it. The Buddha tells us that there's a great way to live life in regards to engaging in life, and it's this. Before you speak, let your words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Is it kind? Our beloved Andy Belling posted on Facebook this for April 7th, 2019, and it's so beautiful. The universe is saying to you today, enhance and uplift your life and that of others by choosing acts of kindness and compassion, and by expressing love and light in all that you do. Choose to do what makes your heart sing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to welcome our musicians back. Yeah, get ready for more Stuart, Guy, and Andrew Belling.
Thank you, Keith.
You're welcome.
So, hello. I just want to say, you know, I do perform 5, 6, sometimes 7 nights a week, and I play hundreds of songs. A lot of my work now is solo piano, and people often come up to me and say, what is your favorite song? And I just cannot answer that because it's now a process. It's not about the song, and then my usual sarcastic reply is the last song of the night. But I didn't. But back to our theme of amazing talents and people that just you don't know where their inspiration comes from, but just change the world. One of the great geniuses of pop music is with us today. His name's Stevie Wonder. And Stevie wrote a song, which is truly one of my favorite songs. It's called Send One Your Love. And part of the lyrics are, send one your love, don't hold back your feelings, you don't need a reason when it's coming from your heart. So let's just zone in on Stevie Wonder.